Story time. I once managed to get myself in a really bad financial situation. I was a young girl who had just been given a credit card and I did not educate myself before using it. It wasn't long before I'd maxed it out, and another credit card too. On top of that, I was living in my overdraft and exceeding it every month. I was basically in a cycle of making the minimum repayments for both credit cards each month, re-spending what I'd paid when I maxed out my overdraft, and then finding myself in the exact same position the following month. Then one morning, I received an unexpected bill and realized I had no money to pay it. It was a scary feeling. I also had a holiday coming up, and at this point, I had dipped into almost all the money I had saved to take away with me. I figured I could use the last of that spending money to pay the bill, but it would have meant that I'd be traveling abroad the following month without a penny to my name. With nothing coming in for another 3 weeks, my only option was the universe. Luckily, the universe came through for me and I ended up with £5,000 on its way to my bank account 24 hours later. So, here's exactly what I did, step by step, to manifest money using the law of attraction. Before we start, make sure to click the link in the description and start manifesting money in 24 hours. Asking the universe. Firstly, I asked. Well, more like demanded. I grabbed a piece of paper and wrote, "I need you to have my back more than ever right now. I am putting all my faith and trust in you, you are my only option. Thank you for providing me with £600 for my holiday spending money and to pay my outstanding bills on time." I folded up the piece of paper and put it in my manifestation box, a random box I keep with photos, clippings and notes of things I want. Then, I told myself not to worry, I had asked, so the money was on its way, and that was that. Mindset work and taking action. I got ready for work as normal, with a motivational podcast playing in the background to get me in the right mindset. When I got to work, I wrote out a list of things I could do that day to help me manifest money fast. Most of them were spiritually inclined: work on money blocks, create a money-focused vision board, etc. I also decided I would go through my wardrobe and see if I had anything I could sell on eBay. I then Googled how to release money blocks, opened all the articles that came up on the first page of the search results and read. Everything I came across pretty much said the same thing. Identify your money blocks and come up with a counter belief for each one that you can practice instead. I sat with my notepad and thought about how I felt when I thought about money, and how I felt when I spent it. I wrote down what I realized at that moment were money blocks I didn't know I had. I see myself as someone who is bad with money. Whenever I spend any money, I think things like, "You shouldn't be doing this," and "You won't have enough for the rest of the month." Now whenever I check my bank account, I feel fear of what I might see from these blocks. I decided to create an affirmation. It had to be something that was true to me and easy to remember so that I could recite it easily when these thoughts and feelings came up again. The affirmation I created for myself was, "I am constantly attracting money and financial abundance into my life." It was true enough to make me feel better, because despite my grim financial situation, I never went hungry. I always managed to get by somehow. I was still always out with friends, wearing nice clothes, there was always petrol in my tank, I always made it through the month with all bills paid, somehow. Whether it was a freelance writing job that would come through at the last minute or I'd make a random saving on something somewhere, something would always save me. That's why you'd rarely hear me complaining about money despite my situation. I never really worried too much about it, and maybe that's why I was always saved. So, bearing all that in mind, I was confident in this affirmation. I believed it. I couldn't say it out loud because, believe it or not, this was still all happening at my desk at work law, so I wrote it down in my notepad 3 times. The next thing I wrote in my notepad was a list of reasons why I didn't need the money. Yup, you read that right. I know enough about the law of attraction to know that trying to manifest from a place of need or desperation creates resistance. That's because you're sending a strong message to the universe that you don't already have what you're trying to manifest. All manifestation is instant in the spiritual realm. So, the moment you decide you want something, it's yours. When we're trying to manifest, what we're really trying to do is bring something that is already ours from the spiritual realm, into existence in the physical realm. I knew that I had asked for the money a few hours earlier, so it was already mine, in the spiritual realm. But forget about realms for a sec, I just needed to focus on the fact that it was already mine, hence there was no need for desperation. So, in my notebook, I wrote down the following. I don't need the money because. I have the exact amount of money in my savings account to pay the bill. I'll just have to take my spending money for the holiday out from next month's wages. That really wasn't a great solution, as it could have created a lot of problems for the following few months, but hey ho, I'm a very cross the bridge when you come to it kind of person, so I wasn't too worried about that. The phone bill that is also due can wait. It probably wasn't a good idea to pay it late, but it was an option. Then I closed my notepad, put my headphones on and searched up some money affirmations on YouTube. I listened to them in the background while I googled law of attraction success stories and spent ages reading the posts that came up. Reading the accounts of other people who have successfully manifested things they wanted is my go-to when I want to raise my vibration. It works instantly every time because the stories just fill me with so much hope for myself and happiness for those people. Following signs and synchronicity, a few moments later, an email popped up. I thought it was a paycheck as it looked the same, but it was actually my P60, the thing you get in April with all the tax you've paid during the financial year. Wouldn't this be a great story if the money I manifested had come in the form of a massive tax rebate I realized I was owed? It didn't. Keep reading, lol. I scanned it briefly, there was nothing of interest, but I thought the timing was funny. All that focus I'd just put into manifesting money, and then a money-related email pops up. After lunch, I had a strong urge to go and grab some crisps from the cupboard. I was meant to be dieting for my upcoming holiday rolls eyes, but the urge was so strong, I had to give in. Then there were two brands of crisps I really liked, and I swear it took me about 5 minutes to pick one. This is nothing out of the usual. I am horrible at making food-related decisions, but this was very intense for a bag of crisps. It sounds crazy, but I felt drawn to one of the bags in particular, so I just grabbed it. Normally, I would just open them and eat, but for some reason, I turned the packet over and my eyes were drawn to a competition that the crisp company were running. There was a code on the bag, and all I had to do was enter it on their website to be in with a chance of winning £500. I really thought it was so weird that I had even turned the packet over and noticed this. I had no idea what I was looking for when I did that. And £500 was almost the amount that I had asked for. Maybe the other £100 would come to me another way. It was worth a try, right? As I entered the code into the website, I was very careful not to let anyone see my screen because I felt extremely silly. Like, who does this, enters competitions on crisp packets? Wouldn't this be a great story if I won the money I wanted to manifest in this competition? Got you again, keep reading. I didn't win. But I didn't dwell on it. I told myself the universe works in mysterious ways. My money would come to me in another way. Trusting my intuition, when I got home I was so ready to start crossing off some of the things I'd written on my action list, starting with selling stuff on eBay. But as I went through my wardrobe, I realized I liked everything. I'd recently decluttered and only kept the things I appreciated, so I didn't really want to sell any of it. I managed to dig out a dress and a swimsuit I'd never worn that I could kind of deal with parting with. I knew selling these wouldn't make me any more than around £20 though, and I needed about £580 more than that. Just as I was about to start reluctantly taking photos of the items, my intuition fired up. In fact, everything else I did from this point onwards was due to intuition. Out of nowhere, the ideas kept popping into my head. So, the first idea was to call my bank and ask them if I could have an increase on my overdraft. My line of thinking for borrowing more money was that at least I'll have more wiggle room and won't be maxing out every month. Wouldn't this be a great story if this sudden flash of inspiration led me to call the bank and receive an overdraft increase amounting to exact figure I was trying to manifest? No such luck. After waiting to get through for 35 minutes, I presented my case to an agent who basically flat out said, no. He told me, you're living in your overdraft. We can't give you any more money, or you'll end up spending it and incurring even higher charges than you do now. Even though he was 100% right, my heart kind of sank. I felt a teeny bit of hope fade. But not for long. I had another idea. I could apply to increase the credit limit on the card I had that was almost maxed out, but not quite. I could do this through the bank's mobile app, so I went ahead and requested the increase. The message I got back wasn't a no, but that they'd have to do more checks and get back to me in a few days. I didn't have a great feeling about that, but before I could dwell on it, another idea came to me. I could take out a loan. This would allow me to pay off my credit cards and overdraft and consolidate my payments into one affordable monthly payment. No more maxing out, no more living in my overdraft, no more stress and unexpected bills. Yes, it wouldn't be my own money, but I could easily manage the monthly payments and it would be saving me from the hellish, financial cycle I'd been living in for so long. It would allow me to start fresh with my credit. I suddenly felt filled with hope again. This was the best idea. Patience and prayer. I googled the bank I wanted to go with and saw that I had 1 minute to spare until their phone lines closed. I called and thankfully managed to get through to a lady who handled my application. Everything seemed okay, there was just one final hurdle I had to jump: the credit check. The last time I had checked my credit rating, it wasn't great, understandably. If it was still bad, there was no way I'd be approved for the loan. She submitted the application for the check and after a 2-minute wait that felt like 2 hours, she said that they needed to do some further checks and would let me know my application had been successful in a few days' time. Torture. However, I felt a deep knowing inside me that I was being tested on my patience and my faith. I knew what I had to do to pass the test. I had to not let the torture of waiting allow doubt and anxiety to set in. I had to keep my faith that the money was mine and stay unattached to this outcome. I put a new note asking for the loan in my manifestation box and took one last final action before I would let it go and go to sleep that night. I decided to pray. If I ever do pray, it's in my head, but I don't always feel like I'm being heard when I do it like that, which makes me kind of lose faith in the prayer. I really needed God to hear this one, so I took a piece of paper and decided to write the prayer down. I started off by thanking Him for all the blessings in my life, all the people I loved. I told Him how grateful I was for every blessing He had given me, and then I told Him I needed one more. I explained why I wanted it and I promised Him that I would use it as a fresh start. I would be more responsible with money and vowed to never get myself in a position where I needed to pray for a loan to help me out financially again. I told Him that if I didn't get the loan, I wouldn't be angry or lose faith. I'd understand that it wasn't in His plan for me, and I'd know that there would be another way for me to receive the money. But I really need a break. I wrote. And I feel like this is it. So, I pray that you give it to me, please. When I was satisfied that I'd said all I needed to say to Him, I folded up the piece of paper, put it under my pillow and placed my citrine crystal on top of it. I told myself again that the money was mine. How you feel is key. I'll never forget how I felt when I woke up the next morning. The best way to describe it is light. It was like I'd been dragging a massive weight around for so long and some kind soul had just come along and taken it from me. I felt relieved. I felt free. I felt happy. Which is surprising. Normally I'd wake up feeling anxious and impatient if I was waiting for financial news that would change my life and had no idea if I was going to get it. But it was like I had an inner knowing that I was going to get the loan. That's how I knew I really believed. It was more than just being optimistic. The relief I felt was so amazing. The first thing I did that morning was smile. I went about my work day as normal, except I put my citrine crystal in my bag and took it to work with me that day. I wrote the feelings I'd felt when I woke up in the morning in my notepad: calm, relieved, happy, light, free. I tried to keep my mind off of the loan as much as possible, but any time I did think of it I recited my affirmation and took myself back to those feelings I felt when I woke up. By 2 p.m. that afternoon I had a text on my phone saying the loan had been approved. On its way to my bank account was enough money to free me from credit card debt, get me out of my overdraft, spend on holiday and start fresh financially, with just one manageable monthly payment. I have never felt so free in my life. Finally, I had been relieved from this hopeless, financial hell. I think I said thank you in my head 1,000 times. Divider. So here are some things I did well, which I believe lead to this manifestation. The moment the unexpected bill came through, instead of worrying how the hell I would pay it, I went straight to the universe and asked. I flooded my mind with inspiration and positivity. From listening to the podcast as I got ready for work to reading the success stories, I did everything I could to raise my vibration and feel hopeful. I identified my money blocks and created an affirmation that would override them, and recited it whenever the slightest negative thought about money came up. I identified reasons why I didn't need the money, to allow me to manifest from a place of no resistance. I made a list of actions I could take to bring more money into my life, and started to do them. I stayed alert to signs and synchronicity. I believe noticing the crisp competition and the P60 was a sign that my actions had aligned me with money. I kept my faith even when things didn't work out. I knew it wasn't my job to worry about the how, so I didn't allow these setbacks to make me lose hope. I prayed and wrote down my prayer, so I really felt good about it. I followed my intuition. I focused on the good feelings I felt. I didn't tell anyone. Others' energy and opinions can influence our own. And things I could have done better. I guess I could have been more specific. I didn't ask for my own money, although I am so appreciative of what I manifested. My attitude to the crisp packet competition was all wrong. Feeling silly indicated that I never really thought I could actually win. But people enter and win competitions like that all the time. Why not me? Why I believe I manifested £5,000 instead of £600. The universe always knows what we want. When we write down our requests, that's for our sake, not the universe. When we write down our desires, we get clarity on what it is that we're asking for, but the universe already knows what we want deep down in our hearts. I had asked for £600 because it was enough to pay the unexpected bill, cover my holiday and pay a few other outstanding bills too, but once it was gone I'd be back in the same situation by next month. The universe knew that what I was really asking for was freedom from the situation, from the cycle I'd been living for the best part of a year. And that's what it delivered. You can do it too. This is one of the best things I have manifested without a doubt. It's taken me a while to share this, partly out of embarrassment, lol, but I really wanted to tell you this story because it's proof that where there's a will, there's a way. It's all about mindset. I found myself in a dire financial situation and was determined to do what I could to change it, even though all I had was a notepad, a pen and some faith in a higher power. Turns out that's all I needed. You never know what's going to happen in life. And once you get something doesn't mean it's the end. This manifestation had a knock-on effect. It made me more responsible, not only financially but in other areas of my life as well. It taught me to be more self-disciplined, and best of all, things have only gotten better financially since that horrible time because that feeling of feeling free and light about money stayed with me as my situation went from strength to strength. Hitting rock bottom financially was the best thing that ever happened to me because it totally restored my faith and love in the universe and God too. I hope that my story inspires you the next time you want to manifest something. If you follow what I feel I did well and learn from what I didn't do so well, there's no doubt in my mind that you'll get what you want. Now you know how I love a good manifestation success story. Do you have any you want to share with me? Tell me in the comments. Click the link below and start manifesting money in 24 hours.